arrive here in western Ukraine from some of the hardest hit areas. They're coming in from cities like Irpin, Kharkiv, and if they can manage to escape the nonstop shelling, they're escaping cities like Mariupol. That's where some progress has been made, getting people out to safer cities like Zaporizhia. But Ukrainian officials say more than 100,000 people there are still cut off from the world. They claim Russian forces aren't allowing people to leave due to that constant bombardments, and they're not allowing aid to filter into the city. Now, after a failed attempt yesterday to enter the city to help, the Red Cross is trying yet again today to enter Mariupol. Those who have managed to get out say it took them days by foot, grabbing random rides with strangers, often sleeping in fields just to get out.
I have only one question. Why? We only lived as normal people, and our normal life was destroyed, and we lost everything. I don't have any job. I can't find my son.
Now, while intense fighting continues in the east, Ukrainian officials say there is strong proof that Russian forces are now withdrawing from in and around the capital city of Kyiv. But Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is warning of catastrophic situations there for civilians who are attempting to return. He says Russian forces are now leaving mines around homes, abandoned equipment, and even in the bodies of the dead. We're also learning some somber news today about a Ukrainian journalist, Max Levin. He went missing in mid-March. His body was found yesterday with 2 bullet holes. People today here in Ukraine remember a fierce and fearless journalist who did everything he could to tell the truth about what's happening here in Ukraine. Jackie?
And Jeff, real quick, I want to ask you, you were in Lviv last week when that strike happened, not too far away. How has the city responded in the last week or so to the feeling that this could go to areas that were widely considered to be sort of safe and protected, at least comparatively to the rest of the country, up until last week?
Well, Jackie, I think you nailed it on the head about what you said when you were in Poland, that this is a message to President Biden, and even Ukrainian officials said that we believe this was a way for Vladimir Putin to say hello. But in the week since then, of course, there have been constant air raid sirens, but life continues here. You know, we went for a walk today just to kind of get a test of the temperature here in Lviv, and people are still arriving here because this really does truly seem to be like one of the safest places. And I think there's a part of this that is, you know, defiance, that they will go and live their lives as normal as possible, despite everything happening across the country. Jackie?
Right. Well, you're doing great work out there. Thank you so much, Jeff. We'll talk to you again soon. Griff?
Jackie, Russian forces are continuing to pound eastern Ukraine and booby-trapping some areas around the capital of Kyiv, according to President Zelensky. Alexis McAdams is live in Poland with the latest. Alexis?
Hi, Griff. Well, it is the situation here in Poland on the ground. Behind me, I'm at a rail station in Poland, which is near the Ukrainian-Polish border, and there are people leaving Poland to head back into Ukraine, saying that they're heading with their family. But when you ask those people, are they afraid? They say they're not thinking about their own safety. They're thinking about their families, thinking about their loved ones that they didn't even have a chance to say goodbye to. Because as we have to remember, at the beginning of these attacks from Russia on Ukraine, these people really had no time to pack a bag, say goodbye, and they didn't know if they were ever going to see their families again. So that's why they say they're going back. Listen.
The whole country was scared because they didn't know how many bombs Russia have. So now people can see that in their city is safe, so they can go back home. So I'm going to have. So now people can see that in their city is safe, so they can go back home. So I'm going to.
Yeah, but how safe could Ukraine really be? I mean, look at these images we're talking about. Very clearly, it is not safe. This is a look at just some of the horrific damage in Ukraine right now. That's an oil facility in Lviv, which was hit by a Russian airstrike just days ago. And that's in the western part of Ukraine, where some of these people are traveling back into because they think, according to them and their families who are still there, that it's becoming safer by the day. But fire crews were there at that facility for hours trying to battle that blaze as the unpredictable Russian attacks have continued. Also, volunteers at these border crossings are telling Fox News that this misinformation about Russia allegedly withdrawing troops is leading thousands of Ukrainians to think there is a lull in attacks. Also, look at this. This comes as volunteers at these rail stations that you're seeing have had thousands of refugees boarding trains and returning back home. Some refugees tell us they've ran out of money. Others can't find a place to stay in Poland because it is very crowded here with refugees, and they're all trying to find supplies and places to stay. Back out here in front of this rail station, I can tell you that there are more than 2 million refugees here in Poland right now. The Polish government is doing everything they can to help those people. They're welcoming them with open arms and giving them food and supplies and even health care without any payment necessary. But the question is how long can this go on in Poland with so many people that are leaving by the day? Griff.
Alexis, many refugees are still crossing into Poland. What are they telling you about what is happening back home?
Well, I think this would be no surprise to you, Griff. When you talk to these people, as you just did at that rail station where you are in Ukraine, I mean, the stories that they have are so horrific. You can really not have tears in your eyes. Can't help it by listening. Tell that those people have seen things that honestly are so horrific we couldn't even say on TV. I mean, they were sitting in bunkers, no food, no water, no supplies. They don't know if their families are alive, and they don't know if they're going to make it out. So try to think about that when we're talking about these constant attacks that are happening in Ukraine. They can't even go out and see what's happening outside because the shelling is constant. Griff?
The uncertainty, all a part of this humanitarian crisis. Alexis McAdams, live for us in Poland. Alexis, thank you. Jackie?
Griff, the Biden administration is working with allies to transfer tanks to Ukraine, while the Pentagon announces another $300 million in aid heading there. David Spunt has the latest from the White House in Wilmington, Delaware, where the president is spending his weekend. Hey, David.
Hey, Jackie. Well, that $300 million announced by the Pentagon is significant, and it adds on a larger chunk of money this administration has put forward to Ukraine so the country can defend itself. A little bit over $2 billion since President Biden took that oath of office in January 2021. Some of the items on the most recent list, Jackie, include laser-guided rocket system, other types of artillery, and as you mentioned, those tanks, they're Soviet-made tanks. The U.S. and European allies will work to get those tanks to Ukraine as soon as possible. Yesterday, in an exclusive interview with Bret Baier, Ukrainian President Zelensky said that he's grateful for the U.S. help. He speaks to President Biden constantly and is always appreciative of more help from the Americans. Listen.
We are saying that Ukraine would like to see among the leaders of those guarantors those who are joining this important peace settlement process. We would like to see the United States led by the president among those.
Okay, so the president in Wilmington, Delaware this weekend with family. About an hour and a half ago, he helped commission a war submarine. You see him right there. This is about a mile from where I am at the port of Wilmington. The submarine called the USS Delaware. That's where the president praised our American defenses on the seas.
This latest ship to carry the USS Delaware is part of a long tradition of serving our nation proudly and strengthening our nation's security of the United States of America. Not just us, but our allies and partners around the world as well.
A busy week ahead for the president. Not only is he focusing on Ukraine, when he gets back to the White House, he'll be focusing on the inflation issue, the highest in 40 years. Also, he'll be watching his Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, come up for a full vote likely on the Senate floor later this week. It may be the only time he has a chance to put somebody on the Supreme Court. So high stakes for the president when he returns to Washington. Jackie.
All right, David Spunt for